everyone, my name is Colleen and I'm a physical therapist and you're watching Clinical Sprinkles. So I first wanted to start off by sharing my story with documentation. For the first year and a half, I was probably staying after work for about an hour and a half, and that's not including the charts that I had done from my morning patients. And sometimes that didn't happen. I would try to have all of my morning patients done by lunch, and that would leave me probably 10 minutes to eat. So it took me about 50 minutes to finish all of those morning charts, and then came afternoon. I would stay about an hour and a half to either catch up from the morning or to finish my afternoon patients. And evals took me the longest. They probably took me 15 to 20 minutes. And so I'd finish all of my daily notes and then take my evals home to finish. And that shouldn't be the majority of where our thinking should be. Our thinking should be on our patients and how to get our patients better, not about the stresses of finishing up the paperwork that goes along with it. But really it was certain tips that I had learned from other physical therapists on how to get better, and that's what I'm hoping to share with you all today. The documentation system that I used is called Athena Health, and that is kind of purple background, and there are some things that you can use on that system. It will depend on which one that you have, but on Athena there's a tool called macros. If you don't know what macros are, you are in for a treat. So I'm sorry for those that don't have Athena. I'm hoping that there is other ways that you can create templates. I've worked with a physical therapist who used Microsoft Word, and he would copy and paste his templates that he created on Microsoft Word onto his EMR. That can be an option for you if you don't have Athena Health, or if your EMR already has a way that you can create shortcuts. Athena macros are a way that you can save a template of something that you have already typed up, and you can save it for either the assessment or the physical exam section. So there are things that you notice that you repetitively type or that you keep using the same phrase over and over. I would highly recommend creating a macro. In Athena, when you're in the assessment portion, for example, in the bottom right corner there should be a star that's empty. So what you're going to do is click on that star and it will fill it in. And then when you click on that star, what it's going to do is take you to where you can save or name your macro, and that's where you can create templates for eval, follow-up visit, eval specific for lumbar, eval specific for knee. So I have 4 main templates now. One is for evaluations, one is for follow-up visits, one is for progress notes, and the last one is for discharges. And in each of those macros, I have ways where I can create my own drop-down menu. This is where I can easily tab through each section where it's either a low, medium, or high complexity eval, and then the components of each one of those. Or you can create a template in Microsoft Word and then have that same function where you can tab between boxes, so that way when you finish writing it in Microsoft Word, it would just add one more step to copy and paste it in whatever EMR that you use, depending on the one that you have. So I work at a clinic where I can have my laptop with me, so I'm documenting when I'm with the patient. I think it's really important that you're documenting the objective while you have the patient in the room, because 1, it's going to save you time from later, 2, you're going to remember it better, and then 3, you can kind of go over your findings as you enter them in with the patient. Write those numbers down. As I do them out loud, I can say, okay, flexion was 150, external rotation was 40, so that way they know exactly what I'm typing, and they know that I'm still on their chart and I'm just writing those things down. Another good way to make sure that you're not stepping away from the computer too much is mark your measurements during the transitions. So say you did all the standing measurements and then you jot your notes down. You do all the seated measurements, you jot your notes down. Then when they go from sitting to supine, you can jot your notes down. But that way you're kind of keeping track along the way and you're not stepped away from the patient for a long period of time. Okay, so now for the meat and potatoes, the assessment. This is the part that's going to take you the most practice, because it takes a while to get really good at being concise with your documentation. I would say try to grasp, if you have one body region, try to grasp that whole PT diagnosis and impairments in one sentence. So that way you have a sentence that you can highlight and put into your follow-up assessments moving forward. So one example of an assessment is right patellofemoral pain secondary to limited ankle dorsiflexion, restrictions of IT band, and glute med weakness. And that's it. The impairments are limiting the patient's ability to participate in hiking, running, and climbing or descending stairs. So that way you have their goals, you have the problem, you have why they have the problem, and that way when you refer back to it, it's all in one place. There's not a lot of fluff to the assessments, and also when doctors read it, I think they'll be very appreciative of how concise and straight to the point you are, because they have a million other things they also need to do, and reading a paragraph of an assessment may not be helpful for them. If you spend the majority of your time creating a very fluid and concise leading sentence for the assessment, it's going to make the rest of your notes a lot easier. So in your daily notes, you're going to carry that first assessment sentence that you created on your evaluation and carry that over into your assessment for the daily note. The things that you will always change is what intervention you did and how they responded to that intervention that day. Then you're also going to want to take note of any changes that you made and why you made those changes, and then the plan for next time if you have one. So say they responded well to the intervention that you did, maybe your plan is to continue that intervention. If that intervention didn't help, then maybe you give yourself a hint or idea of what you plan to do next time. One of the big things that had changed in my clinic as well is having the support staff do a lot of the tedious documentation. So some of the goals that they had filled out in other paperwork can be entered in by your support staff. The HPI, so the intake form of when it happened, how it happened, aggravating and easing factors are all on a piece of paper, and I have my support staff enter that information in. So that way you're working at the top of your license, is how my company likes to put it, is that you're delegating those tasks that don't need your expertise to other people. One of the other things that my staff are trained in is how to pull notes over as well. So say I need 2 minutes to write down my assessment from that eval. I take that 2 minutes to write it down, and then I have my support staff pull over the next note over, especially if they're daily notes. So then that saves me the time so that I don't have to do that, and that's something that someone else can do, and that just improves my efficiency. You have to remember that your support staff are there to help you. So if you notice that their help, them entering the data for you, is making it so that you can leave early, and you're about to leave early but you notice the gym needs to be cleaned, maybe help clean the gym a little bit. Show them your appreciation. So or say you have a gap in your schedule and you notice some rooms need to be cleaned, help them out, because they're going to notice that you helped them out and they're going to want to help you out even more. And so then it becomes a really cohesive team and everyone's working together, and your documentation is just going to get that much easier. So the key things to remember to really improve your documentation is to create templates, make easy ways for you to enter in the information that you need. Number 2 is that you need to really start getting the habit of marking down your objective measurements during the session. Number 3 is to make sure that you're creating a really good carryover sentence that you can use for even your follow-up visits and your progress notes. That way when you're going into treatment, you know exactly what you need to do to get better because you know what the impairments are. So number 4, the last one, is to make sure your support staff are there to help you. Teach them the things that you think that they can do without your expertise and help them out when you have the downtime. All right, everyone, I hope you learned something new. I have struggled with documentation for a really long time, and so I really wanted to help you all. It takes a lot of practice, but I hope these key things help make it so that you can at least cut your documentation down by 25% or even 50%. This is the way that I feel like I can share what I've learned to all of you. I wish that some of these tips were given to me as a new grad PT, and so that's just what I want to share with all of you. Thank you all for watching. If you learned something, please give a thumbs up. If you have questions or comments, please leave them below. And as usual, please subscribe to my page so that you guys don't miss out on anything. Thanks so much. I hope to see you guys again soon.